I think my vision for education and care, and probably the reason that I come to places like the Childhood Summit like this, is to bring childhood into a big part of our curriculums and make childhood a focus. And when we do that, then we can get rid of some of the stuff that is actually detrimental to childhood. So probably my vision is to say that all children growing up now have as rich and fulfilling childhoods as we did, and as our parents and our grandparents did, or even more so. But what we're seeing, and even from the keynote speaker this morning talking about that common dialogue that we talk about of children's range, within the community that they're allowed to freely move in, narrowing and narrowing and narrowing through fear and through policy, perhaps sometimes, that this is potentially damaging to childhood, and the place that we can start is with our own beliefs and our own attitudes and our actions around making childhood a focus. So I think it really comes down to that, to shifting our focus away from learning or creating citizens that are going to be beneficial to the community when they're adults, but actually giving children a childhood now.
And my vision is to make sure that the educators themselves are supported, because of course you can't pour from an empty cup, so making sure that the educators have all the support that they need, so that way they can give the best of themselves to support the young people.
I work across a few age groups, but we do a lot of work in the early childhood area, and one of the barriers I'm seeing is an expectation from parents, the community, and even some educators to get children ready for school. And so I think that can get in the way of just providing an enriching and fulfilling childhood. And so that's definitely a barrier. The opportunity to think together about this stuff and to innovate, and sometimes we don't get the time because everything is so busy and days roll into the next day, and we get stuck doing the same things that we're always doing. So it takes usually something big to happen, or some sort of crisis turning point to create some change there.
And educator burnout too. Just making sure that those educators, again, I know I'm reiterating, but that they are supported. Otherwise they're going to burn out if they can't give the best of themselves. Then how is this possible? So that's how. This is where we sort of come together and form that dynamic. Chris certainly has a really great model for supporting educators to understand their own basic human life needs, and also how their own thinking impacts on their needs and their well-being, and the feeling of fulfilment of their well-being, or in our case, we say within the Phoenix Cups framework, the fulfilment of their cups. Investing in educators, particularly in the fair pay of educators, in supporting educators to access the training that they need, at a also an affordable way to do that, and then that way we can increase the professionalism and then increase the professional pay. To put funding into early childhood settings, and recognise the early childhood settings that are really doing fabulous work towards supporting spaces of childhood for children, and putting the funding and the support more in that space, rather than in pushing down academics on young children, or thinking about those children as future dollar signs. Collectively, the profession and the people within the profession who either support the profession or work within it day to day know what needs to happen, and their voices aren't as loud at the moment as potentially politicians or people who are policy makers or are wishing to be. And so connection with those early childhood academics and early childhood professionals who are doing excellent practice it's our way forward, and making sure that their voices are heard within some of this policy making.
Thank you very much for contributing your vision and working with the education and care workforce to build that capacity and that skill, and ensure that children have those wonderful spaces and early childhoods that we would like them to have.
Absolutely, and thank you to the educators working in those spaces for that amazing cup filling work that you do with children. Thank you.